to work with the great Geof Gambill. We'll be here soon. Anybody? It doesn't look like we have any of the viewers yet. I just posted this stuff in the guilds and whatnot. But so I was telling the story of the Origins, the continental breakfast at Origins, and I'd read online that continental breakfast was not that great at this like Super 8 or something. Anyway, we get. The continental breakfast is in a room. It's just in a regular room, right? It doesn't even it's not even really set up for breakfast. It's just in a regular hotel room, and it's just like one counter. And I think it's best explained by the father who walked in with his like 5-year-old daughter, and he looks in there, and you know the way that a father would try to sell something to his little girl. He's like, well, you could get cereals, waffles, toast. We saw the both of them over at the Waffle House when we finally decided to eat there. It's like, screw this. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was like Eggo waffles, just like totally dry, totally room temperature. And then like there was a few things of cereal and then bread and a toaster. That was it. There was no actual food there. It was just like 3 things of starch. So, yeah, we got actual breakfast.
That sounds horrifying. Do you have a list to the guild chat?
Hey, Joe.
What's up, Carmen?
I see a text message from Mr. Gambill.
Uh-oh.
Oh, is there? Oh, I don't have it. He doesn't text me anymore.
An invite to Geek Mail. I sent one. Oh my goodness. Does he not get his stuff in Gmail? Geof Gambill. Jeez, Geof Gambill. We are getting one to his Geek Mail. Okay. He's gonna literally he can watch the episode he's supposed to be in before he'll actually be on here. 'Cause he's he's got one sent to him now. Let's see how quickly he clicks on it. Well, Carmen, I think hopefully this here is lowering your filter, lowering your tension, because you can see here that this is what we deal with.
Plus, I know it can be edited.
Yeah,
that's comforting to you.
Yeah,
usually like leaving stuff in.
Yeah, I was gonna say we usually leave these things in.
Oh, that's true. Unfortunately, it's
the best moments. Yeah. Waiting. This is. We should just do like the waiting for Guffman. That Christopher Guest.
Yeah. Waiting. We're live. Waiting for Jeff.
Waiting for Godot.
Waiting for Godot.
We're waiting for Gambo.
Agra. What? Agra. Oh, Carmen, you're gonna hype Kama Sutra. I've been really interested about that. Can you like give us a? Show us what it's all about?
Yes, he was actually going to show us how it's played. It's more of a how-to.
Yeah, an instructional video.
Yep.
Isn't that like who like a big designer like designed that
That's
thing?
Different was
it really?
Bruno Fiducci, I think.
Was it Bruno Fiducci?
I think so. But that's what caught my attention. I'm like, what is this name doing on this?
That is so awkward.
You guys there?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Do not look at that. Yes, Jeff, I hear you.
Beautiful.
Do not go to the BGG page for it. Absolutely not.
Do not? Oh God, I'm on it now.
God. NFSW. This is not safe for work. How Bruno Fiduti, man.
What are you talking about?
Carmen was going to give us a run through of Kama Sutra.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's an awesome idea. I love that.
We had good old Geof and Carmen. I specifically requested that you guys come back with some comments and experiences about the old Kama Sutra game.
Well, it
is. There is a dexterity element to it. I just want to let your imagination run with that one.
I've already read about the game, so
Let me know about this,
Jeff? What context did you read about this? Oh,
Well,
sure, just
for adult parties, you know, it's really kind of a cool idea. You know, it's like you and your partner have to assume certain positions, and you put a balloon between the two of you. And the first couple to pop the balloon wins the round.
I'm looking at the cards here on BGG, Jeff, and I don't think any adult party I go to would be adult enough for this.
I found the game we're going to play together. Joe, we're having. This is it. This is it. This is it. This is going to be live on YouTube. Joe and TC finally meet and play Kama Sutra.
I did say exactly, TC. I did say you and your partner, so that could be anybody. Are inclusive here. So,
actually, what if we want Jeff? Would you be the balloon?
No. No, that just went. That's a bridge too far there, my friend. Anyway, all right, good stuff. So why are we here, Joe?
We are here.
About Broche.
Let me do because I think we're gonna have Josh edit this one. It's gonna probably post in both places. I'll probably post it in the long view and in the good, the bored, and the ugly. So probably on both of those. I don't know if they'll let us do that necessarily with the feeds and stuff, but I'm planning on having it be a crossover where it's posted in both. So I'll do a little countdown here because I think that's what Josh, my editor, looks for.
Okay.
And then we'll just go ahead and kick her off. I've got the episode breakdown here that I'm just going to be kind of reading from. Now that everybody is here, click that little chat button in the upper left here, if you guys would, of the Google Hangout. Oh, and Jeff, if you would like to have this beautiful little banner at the bottom, like you see with Carmen's, I just had Carmen. We were all watching you and watching your games.
Now I'm just looking at a shelf, man.
Now it actually is going to move around to whoever's talking. But if you like this this little banner at the bottom, Jeff, you could slap that puppy on. And I am getting you guys. There's Kyle is in our chat. Hi, Kyle. Yay. And I will let you guys have a little link to the chat. It's always going to be just a little bit behind the live videos, about maybe 5 to 10 seconds behind our what we're actually doing. So the live chat, they'll ask a question and it won't get asked for a little bit. If you guys just click on that link in the chat here on our Google Hangout, you'll be able to pull up that window. And I recommend that you kind of do half screen with the thing that we're doing, and then the other half screen with our actual video feeds and whatnot, and then the other half screen with the pop-up chat. Just Play is listening in tonight, so welcome to you. And I'm not sure exactly what. Yeah, I don't know. It might not be a guy, dude. That was very presumptuous.
Oh, that was that. I'm bad.
It was
person.
Presumptuous. Yes, you never know.
I'm gonna get banned.
Yeah, that's right, man. On Through the Ages app, I use a female avatar. You know why? Because I thought it looked better, and I didn't realize that every time people got messages from me, it would use the female pronoun to refer to me. And I just go with it. You know, it says like Good Board Ugly Joe is taking her turn. Nice. And that's what people get from me. Just because I like the female avatar picture better than the male one. The male one was like, you know, looked like the guy that played Hercules in that 90s serial. God.
Evan Sorbo? He's hot.
Yeah, the I Get Knocked Down show, the one that had the Chumbawamba on its the theme music was like the guy Get Knocked Down. I'm pretty sure it was something, but yeah, I thought he looked too much like that guy. So I was like, nah, this female avatar looks a lot more, you know, she just looked, to me, she looked like the more intelligent of the two. So that's what I went with. Well, gentlemen, we're going to start our engines here. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Good, the Bored, and the Ugly, and the Longview podcast. We're doing a little crossover, and we're going to be talking all tonight about Essen Spiel. And Essen Spiel was held in this last October, and we have two special guests that have, one of whom is making his podcasting debut. The other one who has been a thorn in my side, a good friend for a long time. And that would be Carmen and Jeff. Carmen, first you. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Very well, thank you.
All right, we've broken the ice now. You've said your first words on the air, Carmen. It's really great to hear from you, and I can't wait to see what exactly you and Geof did to symbiotically exist in this place that's just so many people, so many things going on. By the way, Geof, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. We did much more than exist. We grew close. We shared stories. We got to know each other, and I'd like to say we touched each other in a very deep and meaningful way.
That is awesome. I can't wait to hear details.
I know I felt touched by Carmen, so.
And I think I brought them together here. I have to take a little bit of credit here as a matchmaker because when given the list of what Carmen wanted me to give him a list of games I was interested in for him and Geof to check out, and I answered back with the Kama Sutra game from Bruno Faiduti. I have to take a little bit of credit here as a matchmaker because when given the list of what little bit of Carmen wanted me audio returning here.
Yes, Carmen, we do. Yeah.
Is that me?
No. I think that's coming off Carmen's track here. So I just heard a little bit of myself, and that's a beautiful, beautiful sound.
They can hear it.
All right. So anyhow, you might have heard another voice joining you there, joining us all from the West Coast. Somebody who rushed home from work and was here on time.
Yeah.
Geof. Yeah, that would be TC. How you doing tonight, TC?
Oh, I'm doing good. I managed to leave work a little early because I love you guys so much.
What a guy! What a guy!
And if you haven't figured it out, I'm the host of at least one of these podcasts here. Maybe both of them. I'm Joe Sallin, the Good, the Bored, and the Ugly, and the Longview now. So, Geof, for those of you that are joining for the very first time, Geof started the Longview as his brainchild in 2012. That's why he is the ancient one.
That's right. That's right.
And the Longview and the Good, the Bored, the Ugly are both proudly sponsored by Game Surplus, which coincidentally is where Carmen is getting all of this business expertise and prowess, and where he gets kind of the calling to go overseas and do something besides admire all the beautiful castles, which is what I think I'd want to do in Germany. But no, Carmen, you're going over there for business and pleasure.
Well, obviously pleasure because they're with Geof.
Oh, well, yeah. Anywhere I am is a party. So that's really the way that works. So, Carmen reached out to me a few weeks before Essen and said, hey, if you can get yourself over here, I've got some room in the hotel, and which, sassy, very sassy Carmen. I knew then it was going to be special. My friend Steve Bonacore over there at Stronghold was nice enough to acquire a badge for me. And so really all I had to do was sell a whole bunch of stuff to pay for the airline ticket over there and the rental car. And before I knew it, I was over in Essen. So it was really an amazing experience. And I really have Carmen to thank for it because he was nice enough to extend that invitation and was just super gracious while I was over there, even though I'm not really the Longview guy anymore. He still kind of treated me like family, and I really appreciate that, Carmen. So that was a great time.
My pleasure, Geof. And it was a pleasure having you. And definitely.
Oh, I know it was a pleasure. Oh, I know. There was pleasure, Carmen. I know.
And definitely made Spiel better all the way around.
Well, Carmen, thank you. So you guys are in trouble tonight because I am doing what every good Pennsylvania boy would do, which is drinking a Pennsylvania rye whiskey out of a mason jar. So it doesn't get any better than that.
I thought Carmen was supposed to be drinking.
I don't know.
Tweeted it.
Are you going to drink, Carmen?
There you go.
There he goes. All right. So now he's trying to.
It depends on how it goes, guys. I'm prepared. If it goes south, I have to switch to this one.
My goal is to make you drain both those.
Just switch to that one for good.
There you go.
That'll be the safer bet. Yeah. Yeah, lower expectations and it'll all work out.
That's right. That's right.
That's the only 4 750 ml bottles are within arm's reach, and a bucket of ice.
So, Carmen, this was not your first rodeo. You'd been to Essen before, no?
Last year was my first time, and Can I take these off? The sound is like skipping.
Go ahead and go for it. Yeah, let's try it.
Whatever makes you feel comfortable, Carmen. I don't know if that's going to be better or not. So we bought Game Surplus the September 30th of 2016. And then I quickly tried to arrange a trip to get to Essen, and which was early October last year. So I had about a week, and found basically a closet in a hotel that was available, and took off. And last year was really just, I went myself, didn't know many people. That's when I first met Edward from Heavy Cardboard, and I didn't really know any publishers personally. So it was really just a trip to go and see what it was all about. And I'm very glad I did, because it made this year much better. Last year was basically all pleasure. I ended up, ordering some things from some publishers after I got back. But while I was attending, I really didn't do much business-wise. It was really roaming and listening, watching, observing. I did volunteer for Artipia, because part of the reimbursement is an exhibitor badge. So you get in early, and that really helped a lot, as Jeff noticed from this year. Getting there before the official opening. So I volunteered 2 days because I didn't know anyone, and that really helped break the ice for me. Training, or demoing 2 full days and just letting loose and getting to know some people. And then this year was more business oriented. Scheduled meetings before I left for every day, and I was also involved with bringing some titles back for PAX Unplugged, which is a tabletop convention coming up in a couple days in Philadelphia. So that was business part of it, but mainly the business part this time was meeting with publishers that I had worked with over the last year face to face, and it was tremendously beneficial. Every meeting that I had this year was very helpful.
How about you, Jeff? How did you feel? Did you feel like Carmen did an okay job, or could you have done a little bit better here with getting you in all the publishers?
I don't know that Carmen could have done anything better than he did. He was super gracious and has a very gentle touch, kind and gentle touch.
Like freshly baked bread.
Yes. No. In all seriousness,
Jeff, you remember this?
Because Carmen left his. Oh yeah, he's got his Rambo. Yeah, he's Rambo. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was the role playing night. I understand. I remember. All right.
And go with this.
And Carmen always smelled so nice because he had this very special bottle of cologne that he kept in the room safe. And I said to him, "Why is your cologne in the room safe?" And he just looked at me and said, "It's the most valuable thing I own in here." And I said, "Oh my." So all I could think of was like Anchorman 2, with the selection of colognes
like
that he had.
Covered in burnt hair.
So, and I got to tell you, it was a special cologne.
Sex Panther.
That's right. That's what it was.
50% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
So, but in all seriousness.
Just so I can drown Jeff out.
In all seriousness, it was a lot of fun. It was my first time, so I went just to kind of check out what it was all about. It was always kind of on my bucket list, to go to Essen. Never really thought I would have the chance to be honest with you. So, that's why I was so grateful to Carmen, and it worked out that with my wife and her schedule, and she was very gracious and, letting me go and doing all the crazy scheduling that had to happen for the kids while I was gone and everything else. So it was really like a lifelong kind of a dream to get to go. And I wanted to kind of see the spectacle of it all. and catch up with some friends. I knew Steve Bonacore would be there. I knew Phil Eklund was going to be there, and Phil was nice enough a few years ago when my family went and traveled to Europe. He and his wife Nicole put us up, all 5 of us, which is just crazy. And they were just so nice and showed us all around Germany. And so I really wanted to get a chance to see him again. Was lucky enough to run into Philip Klarman, who was the co-designer with Phil Eklund on Greenland. And that was the first time I'd met him in person. So that was great. There were just so many people that I hadn't had the chance to kind of meet in person that it was a real pleasure to kind of, get to go and shake hands with some people and say hello, and then see some familiar faces. It's like there's Clay again, from Capstone Games. It's like, hey, I know you. And, kind of get to see him. And it's like a funny kind of small world, It's like all these people that I'm seeing and, see Edward and Amanda, and they're like, hey, I didn't know you were coming. I'm like, I didn't know either. So it was a really, really interesting experience. And it was fun. And Carmen was great in hooking me up with a little bit of side work, working for PAX, basically running and grabbing games that PAX Unplugged here in Philly wants to debut. So they would give us this list of games and say, hey, can you go pick these up? And we would run and pick them up. And then Carmen would load these enormous boxes at the UPS site there, right in one of the halls, and
like
ship them out. Yeah, it was crazy. And I got to tell you, watching Carmen pack a box, if you weren't a fan of Carmen before, you're going to be a fan of Carmen now, because every time I'd say like, no, that's good enough, man. You can't get that game in there. He's like, no, wait. It's like a puzzle, and then you like take everything out, and then you put it back in. And I'd be like, okay, I don't have much patience. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, no, I can get more in there, and he'd take it out and he'd try a different way. And I'm like, you very patient, very patient. So that was
reminds
kind
me
of
my buddy Danny. When my buddy Danny was gonna move, he wanted my help moving him, and like I put it all in the back of his truck, right? And he looks at it once, and he's like, no. And we had to take it all out, put it all back in, make sure it was like packed right from the bottom to the top, blankets thrown in all these places. It's like a special talent, right? There should be a board game for that. A board game for the...
No, my wife is a master of packing crap in small pieces. Her and you, Carmen, you're like peas in the pod when it comes to that stuff. Like, dude, it's in there. It's fun. She's like, watch this. And it like turns into a TARDIS or something. I'm like, how did you do that?
There is a game. I did play a game where you had to do that, where you have to guess if everything could fit.
Smugglers was one where you didn't. Smugglers involve like you rolling, like you made a ball and then had to roll it down like this hole or something and try to get it to fit, but kind of a different idea.
This is there was a game, I think it was Zooscape, or I'll think of it, but you keep adding these animals to the center, and then people drop out and they say, okay, I could fit those in my whatever it was, truck or whatever. And then you get more points obviously if you keep going, and then there's a timer, and then you have so much time to fit everything in there.
Ooh, that's what you need, is a timer there. Time yourself.
No. Carmen does not need a timer.
I thought of a game that really does involve a cool spatial aspect that has a lot of that Tetris thing to it. One of Carmen's favorite games, and one that he's proud that I made the Spiel of Dreams this last year, Feast for Odin.
Mm-hmm.
So, Carmen.
Is that a game?
How you feel about that? What? TC, you haven't played the Uwe games. You can't say anything.
That's right.
I can't.
I like it's fine.
I play Babel.
I like it. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Move on. Now, Carmen, before, he gave me a hard time. He's like, how could you not make Tramways the game of the year? Tramway is so amazing. You nominated it, and then the last minute, you chose something else. I can't believe you did it. So
Jeff actually taught me Tramways at the BBC.
Yep. Yep. That's a fun game. That is a fun game. It's just a really interesting take on that whole sort of route building and passenger movement instead of goods movement. It's definitely one that I still enjoy. It's still in the collection. So, well, Essen was really quite an experience for me. And, I just want to kind of say that it was very kind of different from what I expected. For some reason, I had in my head that Essen was going to be like Gen Con times 3 or something, right? That it was going to be this aircraft hangar that was nothing but, wall-to-wall people selling games, and that it was going to be this incredibly overwhelming kind of an experience, right? You walk in and you can't even see the end of it, kind of a thing. And so that was not the case at all. Like, Essen's very different. There's lots of different halls. I think there's 9 halls, Carmen?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
I think there are more, but yeah, I think.
Okay. So there are like at least 9 halls that I knew of. And I would say each of them was somewhere between, I would guess, half the size of Gen Con's main hall to maybe a third of the size of Gen Con's main hall. So all told, put together, much more space than Gen Con for selling games, okay? Gen Con, of course, has an enormous amount of space for all of the ancillary activities going on, for open gaming and for, sort of, I don't know what they call them, like sessions or meetings and all kinds of panels. That's the word I was looking for, panels. And then there's the whole cosplay thing and role playing. And I mean, there's just tons of other stuff going on in Gen Con in all of these other rooms throughout the Indiana Convention Center. Whereas this was, very much just hall after hall of vendors. And some of the halls kind of had like what seemed to me to be a little theme. I don't know if you would agree, Carmen. Like, there was like the sort of secondhand game hall where there were a lot of vendors who were selling, used secondhand games. And it seemed like there was almost a priority. Like, if you were in hall 1, 2, or 3, you were probably one of the big boys. Like, you were probably one of the big publishers, very well-known, established reputation. As you got into the later halls, for 4, 5, 6, they were kind of your still, great publishers, but smaller. Not quite indie publishers, but smaller publishers. Like I saw Tim Fowers with his games. At least I hope he finally got his games. He was in one of those halls. Yeah, he really, his first day, he didn't get his pallet in. And there was some kind of snafu. And I tried to get back to him on another day to see if he had gotten his games, but he wasn't there. I didn't spot him. He always wears that real distinctive hat. So it's always easy to spot him. And then, you got into the sort of secondary sales halls, and then eventually into the halls where there was some like artists and people kind of doing stuff like that. And maybe clothing, almost like cosplay kind of clothing, leather armor and stuff, which Carmen's very into. I don't know how many times he said, "Does this make me look fat?" And I'm like, dude, enough. Okay. I don't care what you look like on the outside. It's the inside that counts, Carmen. So, and the halls were really, really full most of the time. Really packed with people, which if you've been to Gen Con, you know what that's like. Really kind of crazy, wall-to-wall people. It can take you almost 20 minutes to walk from one end of a hall to another. There's just so many people. I did notice something that was very different from Gen Con. I don't know whether it was a German thing or a European thing. Haven't figured that out yet. But the one thing I did notice is, like, if you're, like, let's say the average aisle can handle like 8 people walking abreast. And usually about half that is taken up by people going one direction and half going the other direction. And what I noticed is that if someone was walking and they like got a phone call or a text, or if they wanted to talk to somebody, they just stopped. They just stopped dead in their tracks in the middle of the hallway and had a conference, And it's like, hi, hello. I'm trying to move and I can't get anywhere because the river's flowing the other direction 2 feet to the left. And can you guys like move like to the side, like out of the way a little bit so that we can get very strange. Like, just people would just stop dead. and start texting or start talking to somebody or having a conversation. And it's like, I don't know. I found that odd and a little bit frustrating at times. It was just like, move off to the side so that like people can go. It was kind of strange. And like I said, I don't want to say it's a German thing because I don't know if it is a German thing, but it was definitely a difference from Gen Con. In Gen Con, like if you stopped in the middle, people would definitely say something to you and would like suggest to you that you get the heck out of the way.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and I would do that. I'd be like, excuse me, please, excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. And nobody would move. And, it's like, okay, maybe they didn't speak English, which is possible, but a lot of people speak English. And I'm like, and then you almost would have to shoulder your way past, which makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like touching people when they don't want to be touched, which is why it took, Carmen and I a while to kind of get going. I don't like shoving past somebody, in a sort of like Trump fashion, shoving past other leaders in the G8. That's not me, Like I like to wait for you to move. That is.
That's okay.
Longest time before I mentioned that name. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so that was a bit strange, but boy, the variety of games there, the selection, so many booths were co-booths. You'd see like 2 or 3 publishers together in one booth, like small, indie kind of publishers that were sharing the expense and sharing the space. And I thought that was really cool because I'm sure none of them could maybe have afforded that on their own, but together they could kind of band together and show off their games. And so that I thought was really cool. Carmen, what did you think about the sort of spectacle of some of the booths from, the big players, like Asmodee and stuff? Like we're talking giant video screens,
events,
crazy stuff, right?
I mean, I think, day trippers loved it. I mean, there were events and they would have contests and giveaways every 30, 60 minutes. And they would have giant renditions of certain games and people would play. And it was a real spectacle. That's not where I spent most of my time or what I was looking for, but it was very popular. And I heard a lot of positive feedback about those.
Yeah. A spectacle is a great word. Yeah.
So regarding Essen, is Essen in any way similar to like Origins and Gen Con where you have to buy tickets to do most of these things? Like generic tickets or pay for events?
No.
I didn't see any of that. No. And I guess maybe one of the reasons for that is the stuff that was going on that Carmen's talking about were like games related to the game that, they're trying to sell. And so it was all promotional stuff and not so much experience stuff. Like there was no true dungeon there. Like you're not going to do that. That doesn't seem to be what Essen's for. Now, I could be wrong. I've only been there a whopping once, and I'm sure people will tell me if I'm wrong. But what I noticed was, the big takeaway I came from was this was totally a buying convention. Like you go there to see the new stuff. You go there to hopefully get to play one of the new things, but was very difficult because the demos were always full. And then you buy stuff. Like that's what you're there for, because unlike Gen Con, there's no like huge halls where people then go and sit and play their games. I understand that there's, places to play games in the hotels that surround the fair where people are staying. But as far as at the event itself, there's no like open gaming room. Like that doesn't happen. So you're really just going there to look at games and buy games. And that's pretty much why you would go. If you can participate in an event, it's really just to kind of teach you a game or get you interested in the games. You can buy the game. It's all sales all the time.
I would say the like 2 examples. The huge majority of booths would have things like a wheel, and they would be crowded, and you'd spin the wheel, and you would have a giveaway. Or Yellow had, I'm not sure if it was a robot or some kind of contraption where you put a ticket in, and then it would spit out something that would give you some kind of benefit. That's the huge majority of what would go on at the booths. The only event I can think of, but it didn't cost anything. They did have a 10-minute escape room that people would enter and, obviously try and escape with a little monitor so you can watch them. But other than that, there aren't events per se to participate in or scheduled events.
Yeah. I don't really like the idea of all those scheduled events anyway. I always felt like if I was going to schedule one, like I would end up, always having that one scheduled event fall right when I just ran into somebody that I wanted to talk to, or just ran into a game and it piqued my interest, or, or I found somebody who was willing to play an entire game with me, which was just so bizarre when that happened once or twice at like Origins, where a publisher was actually willing to play through their whole game with you. But that's like par for the course at Essen, isn't it?
Playing through a whole game, I would say not that I saw. Usually you would go through a few rounds of a game at a demo table, and then, they would want you to kind of go and let another group of people come in, simply because the more people that they can come, that can come and sit down and play something, the greater the chance that that game is going to get bought, or it's going to generate buzz, or what have you. So, yeah, I don't know that I had too many experiences at Essen where I got to play a full game. I think really none, to be honest with you. I didn't have that happen to me. Now, Carmen, did you, when you were you demoing full games or partial games?
I would say it was about 50-50. Some people wanted to come in, learn a game, and then once they got it down, move on. But I would say, about half of the tables that I demoed played. Now, of course, they weren't very long games, but they did play all 4 rounds and finish the game to see if they won or lost. The main one I did was Kitchen Rush, which is a co-op game.
Cool. All right.
Cool. Well, actually, you know what, guys? We have talked quite a bit about our topic tonight, which is the good old Essen Unpacking. And I've been really interested so far, but Carmen has served up a nice transition into his review game, which you're going to tell us now about Kitchen Rush. Carmen, take it away. Tell us how to play Kitchen Rush, because it sounds like you haven't done that enough for people.
Kitchen Rush is a co-op for up to 4 players. Basically, the theme is it's worker placement, but the workers are hourglasses. So each player has 2 hourglasses of your color.
Is this like time and space?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
That's all right. That's okay. So the theme is it runs 4 rounds. It's supposed to be you're running a restaurant one evening. Each round is supposed to be equivalent to an hour. And there's the maitre d'. There's serving up the dishes, gathering the ingredients, serving, doing the dishes. The trick is there's 3 phases. One's of each round of the 4. There's a planning phase where you can discuss the plan for the coming round, who's going to do what. Then there's a real-time 4-minute portion, which is when you go ahead and do all the actions with your hourglasses and move your workers all around the kitchen and the dining room. And then finally, there's a cleanup phase each round. So what was interesting was when I explained the game, I wanted people to, I wanted to see if people would notice that the hourglasses are all different.
Ooh.
They don't all have the same number of sand, the same quantity of sand. So, for instance, the maitre d', which is allowing people in, and it's how you get more orders in the door to be fulfilled. The win condition, there's prestige, there's money, and there's number of orders fulfilled. And you have to meet all 3 as a team, the minimum, and there's 4 skill levels, and then there's other ways to add replayability. But it's funny to see when people would do one that would maybe take 3 minutes, because you cannot. It's counterintuitive. When you put your hourglass on your worker placement spot location, you of course flip it upside down. You can't move from that spot until It's complete. It's empty.
The sand is gone.
Right.
The sand
So you can take longer. I mean, if you wanted to, if the sand is gone and you're not finished, you want to keep going, you can. But you'd almost always be finished well before you finish the task before the hour. Then you're waiting. So the key was then to notice which ones to do, which tasks, because you want to be able to redo them faster, and that they would be when you're in the planning phase, you would obviously choose the people or the workers that had the least amount of sand to do the repetitive tasks. And it when you're watching the game, it looks like chaos, but when you're playing it, it runs very smoothly.
So what do you think of it? What kind of success have you had with it?
There's I've played it a few times since I got back. There's shopping. I mean, there's a lot to it. You have to go gather your ingredients. Everybody has their own board, and on the orders are cards, and they have a list of ingredients, a list of spices, how long it takes to cook that particular dish, and your board is comprised of when you go to the ovens, you cook it one level, so you have to have all the ingredients before you begin to cook it, and then you can add spices as the cooking process continues. So it's just trying to manage that, and then you have 3 storage facilities with the ingredients, and sometimes you need to go shopping to get more, and there are limitations to that. There are ways to upgrade equipment, so there's a lot going on that you have to kind of wing it as you're going. And then
cool. So what seems interesting to me is this kind of reminds me of a lot of apps that have come out recently, like those apps where you're like a burger flipper and you're trying to do things as quick as possible, but you of course can't flip the burger until it's ready to be flipped. So this kind of works that into its gameplay in the form of all these different hourglasses. How many hourglasses are there in the game? And you've mentioned that there are different amounts of sand in each one.
Well, there's 10. There's up to 4 players. You get 2 each, and then there are community helpers. Whatever color is chosen, you start the game with 1 helper, which anyone can use, and then one of the upgrades is adding a second helper that anyone can use those hourglasses.
That sounds really interesting. So I referred to Time and Space, which is actually a Stronghold game. I don't know if you remember that, Jeff.
Oh yeah. Time and Space is an interesting game. It's kind of a pick up and deliver game where you have these spaceships. You're kind of zooming from planet to planet, trying to deliver goods and pick up goods and manufacture goods in order to have them picked up by another player and taken somewhere else. And everything works with sand timer. So if I'm going to produce a good, I'm going to flip a timer. And when the timer runs out, I've produced that good. If I'm going to fly to this planet, I put a timer in my little spaceship and put it in the space between 2 planets. And once the timer has run out, the ship has arrived at that new planet. And if a good has been produced and is available, then maybe you can get that good. You can drop off goods, fulfill contracts. You can pick up passengers. And so everybody's doing this at the same time. And that's what, it's time and space. So, again, you have that time element of managing that, and also in Time and Space, there's a competitive aspect, because if I'm trying to go and pick up this particular type of good that this planet produces, but my route has to take me past a moon, which is basically a midway stop that you must take. So the route takes 2 turns of the hourglass instead of just 1. Someone can sneak in and snag the stuff that I wanted and take it before I can even get there. And then once I get there, I'm already committed to going there, and now I'm kind of stuck with nothing to do. So, that's kind of how the hourglasses were used in that game.
Yeah, what kind of cracked me up about that game is its competitive aspect led me to just like I would always look around the table and it's like, here are all my opponents. And we're all like staring at these sand timers, waiting for them to get done. And it just felt like microwaving your dinner, the board game. Because it was like we were all standing in front, waiting for the dings that we could start playing again. And honestly, like, that's basically what Kitchen Rush seems to be going for, But I'm really interested in this system because you're talking about making it cooperative. And honestly, in that case, instead of like looking around and just kind of like chuckling at the fact that, here we are stuck waiting for these sand timers, in that case, you're like, you know what you're going to do when that sand timer flips, because, it just, to me, like, there were a lot of things that didn't quite work about it being competitive, and they cracked me up, but they didn't exactly get me invested in the gameplay. Whereas I can see with Kitchen Rush, the timed element of Space Alert is part of what makes it so exciting, and I see that same sort of thing offering a new level to cooperative games that I don't think has been used before. I really am interested in this system that you're talking about here, Carmen.
TC, is that a record for how long it's taken Joe to mention Space Alert?
Probably, but I was hoping for a record on the brioche bread, but we've already
the brioche,
past
we've
that.
already hit the brioche.
Of course, that's what you're baking in
yeah.
For sure. Yes,
with a rib bone inside, just a bone.
Pick to the bone. Yes, just the bone. Yep.
All right. Nothing like inside jokes to draw people in. All right. That's just good broadcasting right there.
Well, it is a reference to a previous broadcast, so I'm sure many folks have probably heard that night that was the night when I was when I got stung by a bee, and I was sitting here getting loopier and loopier. And I eventually made the most bizarre
venom surge through your veins and your toe or whatever it was.
Food reference.
See, Carmen, I'm glad I'm not alone to watch this thing fly off the rails. I have a witness.
Well, it's just apparently we make a lot of food references on the to board games and the things I participate in. I don't know. It's what I'm always thinking about, but this game actually seems to breed them appropriately. So.
True.
I would love to give it a shot sometime. So give it the old, see whether or not it cracks me up to look across the table and see somebody staring at a sand timer. I don't know what it is, but just like it gives me just this belly laugh that makes the other person really uncomfortable because they're like, why am I funny right now? What is funny about this?
You're funny. You're waiting for salt. That's why.
Yeah, you're just sitting there waiting.
You're waiting for salt. That's why. Anyway, well, thanks for telling us about that game, Carmen. That definitely sounds like an interesting one. I stopped by basically to bump some money off of Carmen and waited, while he was demoing and explaining, and I kind of got a taste of it a little bit. See what I did there, Joe? Taste of it.
Yeah, I was going to say it was.
And it looked very interesting. It looked interesting because of that element of you got to have your ingredients. You got to, everything has to be timed. No pun intended there, correctly in order for it to work. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. I'd like to give that one a shot. And that's by Artipia, right, Carmen?
Yes, and it did sell out during Spiel.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yep.
Attaboy, Carmen. Attaboy. All right, well,
salesman.
Yep. Let's hear from TC. Let's hear from TC. I'm thinking I'm cooking up some food references here, TC. You gotta take over. Let us know that you're not doing it's not Battle for Rokugan. You're doing what game are you talking about?
Okay, here we go. I have been very interested in restoration games lately because I've been real curious about how they're re-implementing old games. But a part of me is a little sad because I don't see myself ever having the opportunity to play the original old games. Well, much to my surprise, I was up at a local Goodwill and I actually saw a completely intact copy of Stop Thief from 1979.
All right, wait a minute. I gotta call Bull on this because I just listened to the Longview episode about Seven Wonders, which was quite good, by the way. You should go check that out. The guys did a nice job with their special guests from the Hexagamers. And this is the same story you told, TC.
Well, you do a different story.
Twofer. No, you can't do twofer. There's no twofers in this industry. Come on.
Okay.
A double twofer?
Yeah, that's Jeff being mad at me, Lena.
That's right. Yeah. Your dad was trying to get credit for the same story twice.
Why don't you talk about, we talked about it off the air. Why don't we do a little bit about Spinderella?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You haven't reviewed Stop Thief yet, though,
I'll be
TC.
right
Did
back.
you?
I'm gonna be right back. I'll be as quick as possible.
Well, I got my little 8-year-old excited now, so he's going to talk about some Spinderella.
Spinderella. I'm all for that.
What is just in a nutshell? Stop Thief. Was it only good for nostalgia value, or was this something you'd actually keep reaching for?
I'd probably keep reaching for it. In fact, it makes me want to get the restoration game to see the changes they made on it. Thematically, it's a little wonky, but it's fun. Okay, here we go.
All right,
Liam,
cool.
you got Spinderella right there.
Tell us about
so
it.
we got this from Game Surplus. Thank you, Carmen. What do you think about this, buddy? Go ahead, talk.
Is that clapping? That's applause.
See those 3 spiders? Those 2 spiders have to get. That's why they catch the ant.
Yeah, so in Spinderella, you are playing ants, and it's a 3D board you assemble.
Cool.
And at the top are spiders that are magnets. And they're positioned, and they're connected by a string, which descends on a magnet. And the way they're positioned, the closer you move them together or further apart, descends the magnet. So what you're trying to do, essentially, is get the spiders to catch your opponent's ant, because the ants are magnetic. You want to sap them up and pull them up into the web. And you're just rolling dice, moving around. There's a log you can cover up your opponent's ants with, and you're just moving around trying to survive to the picnic table, right? And there's 2 sides to the board. There's a simple, quick side and a longer side.
Which I like the longer side.
And Liam does like the longer side.
Why is the longer side better, Liam?
Because you can have a longer game.
Yeah.
Do I really have to explain that?
Yeah, you
That's
tell.
You're gonna be
true.
playing Virgin Queen.
I guess that was a bad question, Liam. Because any game that's longer is a better game. I shouldn't have asked that. You're absolutely right. So what
You did start the long view, Jeff.
That's right. That's right. So well, that's cool. So you like that game? Do you like catching the ants?
No,
You have to restart the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
you got
hard.
You are the ants, Jeff. You are the ants.
Oh, I thought you were the spiders trying to catch the ants.
Well, you're trying to make the spiders catch your opponent ants.
Oh, I got it. All right, he's going to show me the pieces because I am too old to understand this. That's why I'm the ancient one.
Yeah, they're fantastic components. The game is a lot of fun, and my kids have actually been playing this by themselves, which
cool.
is
Look at that.
amazing. I got home, I'm like, oh my god, guys, you're playing this? Like, yeah, this is a cool game. I'm like, oh, okay. So,
Look at that.
Here's the spider. If you can see the spider, here it is.
Is it Itsy Bitsy or is it bigger than Itsy Bitsy?
it's Peter and Parker. I kid
Peter
you
and
not.
Parker?
That's what they call them, Peter
Nice.
and Parker.
Nice, nice. I like that.
It's got solid plastic components you build this thing with. It's an amazing game.
We got the pressure plates, the short. We got the short game.
Okay.
That's the short game, and there's the long game. Yep. So yeah, so it was my first order get from Game Surplus. Plug. Great, great, good. And it's a great game for kids. And Liam does have a suggestion for the next game we're going to order from. You need to get, and it's My First Stone Age, the card game.
I do not want card games. Those suck.
Yes.
I love my thing that holds the card, so I'm getting sucked at it.
So that's my mini review of Spinderella. We'll get to Stop Thief later
through
when
your-
Jeff isn't there to
That's
antagonize me.
That's your mini review from your mini me.
Well done, Liam. Well done.
Good job, Liam.
That's actually Liam making his board game podcasting debut as well. So we got.
I think he might be doing a better job than Carmen. So I don't know.
But thanks again, Carmen. It's been a tremendous great game.
Spinderella was released
I think,
in 2016, and they actually did have a huge, like, life-size board and these tremendous, like, these awesome spiders that came down during Spiel.
Oh, that sounds great.
Well, I kept walking past. Of course, it was a little too creepy, but I just kept walking.
Well, I love spiders. I think it's
But it was
fantastic.
really, I mean, just that was one of the things that blew me away when I saw the effort that they put forth in some of these booths. And that's also what some of the publishers that have attended, some of the European publishers that have attended some American conventions, said the biggest difference they notice is just it's and I haven't been to Gen Con, nor have I been to Origins, but my impression is they're more traditional booths, whereas these things are just, some of them. I mean, I went to the Pegasus Spiel for an interview, and it opened up into a whole nother room with floor to ceiling windows and hors d'oeuvres and meeting rooms, and it was amazing.
Yeah, the booths are definitely a whole different level. I think about a publisher like Blackfire and Spielworks, right? They, Blackfire had this huge booth, and they had like this whole section that were like rooms, meeting rooms. Heavy Cardboard was there. Some other publishers were there, as well as, of course, Blackfire. They had a huge, banner, a 4-sided banner in the shape of a rectangle hanging from the ceiling, that said Blackfire, that was enormous. We're not just talking about, a little banner. It was in this whole framework, and the lighting, just crazy, like just the amount of stuff. And some of the booths had like, video monitors and interactive touchscreen stuff. And I mean, like Carmen said, it's a whole different ball game than most of the Gen Con booths, which is like tables that are stacked with games with prices and people saying, hi, let me tell you about the games and I'll be happy to, take your money. Speaking of money, I do want to say too, in case anybody gets stuck like I did, I was really surprised. Essen is cash only. There were very few booths that took any kind of credit. Everything was cash only. So if you're used to going to Origins or Gen Con, where pretty much everybody has a credit card machine or a Square or something, that's not the case at Essen. And I think, Carmen, you explained it to me that was sort of an intentional decision to keep traffic moving, right?
I think that's one of the reasons. And of course, it's better financially without the fees. Yes,
and people just stop in the middle of the hallways already, so there's only so many instructions you can have.
The few times I did see people using credit cards, it seemed there was either a language barrier or so there always seems to be a hiccup with the transaction, which it doesn't take long in that type of crowd and that environment to just go from 3 people in line to 15. Right. So being cash, it really is crowded as it is. And
then they start riding, and then they eat their own. It's crazy, right? It's like in the Thunderdome. So
2 men enter, 1 man leave.
That's right. With a game, holding it up. I got this with my credit card. But yeah, that is a difference. People should definitely know that going in. You need to have euros. Got to have euros. Something that was different. But I will say it kept the lines moving. I mean, there were very few times when, after that first day, there were very few times that there were lines more than a few people deep, and you could just go, you could just get your game. So that was cool. That was kind of the upside to all that. So, yeah. All right. So TC tried, and his son bailed him out. Trying to tell the same story.
Have a backup plan. Always
trying to tell the same story he told on the Longview and get away with it. It's a good thing I'm here for quality control, TC, because I don't know, man. That was Bush League right there. I got to tell you, that was Bush League. He was talking about his find on the other podcast that we will not mention. And whew. So thank goodness for Liam there. All right. I feel better now.
Well, I guess now I'm gonna have to choose the latter of my 2 options I left myself. Good thing that I had 2 options, so I don't have to be bailed out. Because if I mention Iberian Rails, just gonna come up with information that I've already talked about this on the Good, the Bored, and the Ugly. It's
what is this?
What is it? This is just rehash, man. This is it. This is a rerun podcast. I've actually already pre-recorded this.
This is not a retread podcast, my friend. Yeah.
This is me falling asleep right now at this moment, and you are just talking to a recording.
All right.
So
all right.
I wanted
ahead.
to just mention, because I wanted to throw out Iberian Rails. I just tried the merger attorney in a game, and that is something that I think they added that as a Kickstarter goal, and it was just insanity. It was absolutely incredible. The fact that you have companies that can just jump to the end of the game, but there's so many different like hoops that you must jump through to get to that point. So I mean, like, you can see somebody prepping for the merger attorney miles down, miles earlier. And to me, like, the game itself is just cube rails on absolute steroids, to the point where it's a system that is blown up to where I want to play it. I've got all my friends that aren't necessarily into the economic games into it. It still pleases the economic gamers. It gives you that same feeling that, like, say, Imperial 2030, which I know, Jeff, you enjoy Imperial, and it gives you that same feeling that you've got your 6 different companies in this game, and the company head is who takes the turns. There's no other turns in the game besides this role selection, and the roles are incredibly impactful. I love this game, and the reason I wanted to mention it is because, Carmen, you hear this, Iberian Rails. Not Iberian Railways, that's like some winsome game. Iberian Rails, you need to get this game. Game Surplus, please get this game. Please make it possible for me to tell people about how awesome this game is. I got 3 guys in my game group that are jonesing for this game. And I've been saying to them, I've been telling Carmen,
Who's the publisher?
I think it's a Kickstarter, wasn't it?
It was a Kickstarter. It's Monsoon Publishing, though. And I know that they are looking at getting picked up over here, if they haven't already.
Right. But I do have an email from them. Believe it or not.
It is incredible, Carmen. I am telling you, it is absolutely incredible. It pleases
one of the 700 I haven't responded to yet.
Well, that makes me feel so much more special. He actually listens to me. So Iberian Rails, the merger attorney, was incredible. We played with a few other new roles, but I just wanted to mention that, like, even those kind of gimmicky roles, as the publisher himself commented on my tweet and said, it's supposed to be a little gimmicky. I was kind of like, this didn't feel gimmicky. This, to me, felt amazing. It was like, holy crap. The way that trying to keep your companies from getting swallowed up was just a whole new dimension I didn't expect.
So I sense that you're a little excited about this title.
Yeah, I've been. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't know. You're gushing. You're gushing.
I don't always get that way over games. I
know you don't. That's why I'm commenting on it. You're getting really gushy about this title. Every single time I played, you know what it was, Jeff? Here was what really pushed it over. Okay.
All right. The 2 buddies of mine that I played with this last weekend, both of them requested it by name. Like, it was almost as if they talked about it before they came over. Neither of these guys are the economic style of game.
Right.
But they are finding that, this is a game that's about making the most money, and it's about stock, buying stock, and the companies are what's taking actions. It's so it has a lot of these things that you'd be used to seeing in, say, like Imperial. It's really I would say it's closest. It's like a mixture of Chicago Express and Imperial, but with a role selection that just takes the entire system and ties it in an absolutely unsolvable knot. And I just absolutely love cracking at it each time, because it's easy to teach. It's easy to learn. It's only got an 8-page rule book, and half of that is like showing you what all the different roles do. But there is just so much to it, man. I am really, really enjoying it. So
was that your review, or was that your hype?
Well, that was actually me sneaking a sneaking a review past you, since I figured. Yeah, sneaking a review past
you. But I was
trying
to break the rules here. I know.
I was going to talk about Joraku, which is a trick-taking area control game.
Yes, that's a cool little game. That's from Tasty Minstrel, right?
Tasty Minstrel, exactly. I couldn't believe how this game worked. We played it with 3, and it was an excellent little game. It's
a blast, yeah.
You have to follow suit, like a trick-taking game, and normally it's the highest card, no matter what. Like, if you lay off in this game, it still counts as though you were playing in suit, right? So a lot of times in trick-taking games, when something gets led and you can't follow suit, you just have to throw away a card. But in this game, that really gives you some sort of flexibility. You can sometimes choose which of your cards you play, as opposed to being forced to play something. There's only 3 suits in the game, though, and you've got an extra kind of the fulcrum of the game.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yep. I watched.
You watched
videos,
all 2 videos, I think. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The old Jeff Gambill 2 video. That's
2
right,
videos,
man.
baby. That was
2
it.
video review series.
That was it.
The fulcrum.
It was amazing. It was a simpler
2 video
time,
run.
Joe.
I think you had about 7 or 8 views.
I did. Yeah, it was like 7 or 8 people. You were probably one of them.
I think I was actually all 7 or 8 of them. But yeah, I kept coming back to it, man. I loved it.
Trying to learn from the ancient one. I understand.
So Joraku, though, has a card that's called the Ninja. And the Ninja wins the game if a 6 has been played. Only if a 6 has been played, which the 6 is as high as these cards go. It's 1 through 6.
Wins the hand, though. Don't say wins the game, because then people will be like, that sounds like garbage. Right.
That wins that, not the hand even. That wins that trick.
Right.
Let's bring it back to trick.
All right, trick. All right.
So
good
all
call,
the way
good
back
call.
to the beginning.
All right.
Trick take. So it wins the trick, and winning the trick gives you like this sort of special scoring, meaning that you're gonna, whatever region you have this little daimyo is in,
Right.
that's the region that's going to score. And if you are if you have the biggest presence in there, you're going to score a certain amount of points. There's points for second and points for third. But the 6 regions in this board are all linear because you're kind of trying to get to Kyoto. And the funny thing is, there's 3 hands in the game. At the end of each hand, there will be a scoring, but you start farthest away from Kyoto with the highest scoring regions in the first round, and those kind of diminish returns up until you finally get to Kyoto, which doesn't even score in the first round. But in the second round, that starts, the journey to Kyoto kind of starts. It's like this kind of march to Kyoto. And by the last round, you're scoring like double the points that you would have been in the first round for this final like Thunderdome that ends up taking place in Kyoto. But every time that you play a card, it gives you the coolest choice in this game is that when you play a card, if you play a 1, that's a very weak card, but you're always going to get to take an action with that card. And you only have 10 cubes in the game, but if you play a 1 and you have at least 3 cubes, or you have some cubes in your possession, you can put up to 3 of them in the 1 region, which is extremely efficient because the 1 region is right next to Kyoto. Whereas if you play a 6, you're putting 3 cubes in this faraway wasteland that takes you forever to get to Kyoto. However, if you play a 6, you could, instead of deciding to put out cubes on the map, you could instead choose to use your operation points, and you get 6 of them, which you can use to move around your daimyo or just start murdering dudes with that daimyo. It's all the pieces in this game have a push and pull, and it is beautiful how they work together. It's so weird for me to say this, but they've made trick-taking marry together with area control. That's not possible. How did you do this?
Yeah.
No, it can't be. Try out Joraku. It's a really cool game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever played Condottieri?
Oh, yeah.
I've not.
How does it compare to that, Jeff?
Condottieri is
it's not trick taking, but it's
no, but it's that same
playing.
kind of hand management, card play. I would say it feels a little similar in the area control and the hand management and the timing of when you're going to play your cards, okay? But where it feels different is the change in valuation of the areas on the board, right? Mm-hmm. So in Condottieri, you're trying to get contiguous kind of areas under your control, either 3 or 4 or 5. It depends on the number of players that are playing the game. And so the map doesn't change, right? And so you're just trying to connect your sort of regions together so that you can win the game. Whereas in Joraku, the board really is trying to push you towards that idea of the march towards Kyoto, because the areas that once were valuable are now worthless. And so people are trying to abandon certain areas and move towards other areas. And that's very different from Condottieri, which, you know, once you have something, you really want to hold on to it. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Interesting. So, yeah, Joraku is a much more mobile game. You are moving towards, you're moving to where the best places are for scoring. And that, to me, like the fact that you're using your operations points to move yourself, to move your daimyo, to get rid of other players, like that operations versus putting guys on the map versus sort of your recruiting action, it felt to me like just a a pivotal decision that always made the lower cards effective. And when you're at the beginning, you know, choosing like any trick-taking game, what cards you're going to pass to your opponents, that's a tough call because you're like, hold on, getting to put my stuff out here in the one region seems really nice. However, you know, it makes you think twice. Let's play this. It makes you think twice about killing somebody's dudes, because if they have a 1 there at the end of the game and they just poof all those dudes out on the board in the one region, which is is the second highest scoring, there's some nice little decisions to be made, and it's surprising how the game playing in 45 minutes, it's a really ingenious game, and it comes from Tasty Minstrel and originally Moai Ideas. Right. Moai Ideas, sort of like the Moai statues on Easter Island. Yep. Which also made one of my other favorite, almost same level, same sort of crunchiness, interesting decisions, but very quick and fast playing, and that's Mini Rails, which I really, really loved Mini Rails so far.
Looking at it right now on my shelf. So, and they've also made a Tulip Bubble, I think, which I saw at Essen, but did not have a chance to really look at or play. So, but yeah, it's they've come up with some pretty nifty designs. I agree. So.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for letting me kind of dump a couple reviews there, kind of sneak one past Geof, and then give the actual review. So that kind of worked all into my master plan, because, Geof, you have to understand that you, sir, are the moving point here, the transition into more discussion of Essen, because I had quite a few Essen questions that were left unanswered. But you're going to be giving first impressions of a couple of games that you've played at Essen or in its wake, correct?
I don't know about a couple, but Merlin.
No Transatlantic?
Yeah, fine, whatever. Transatlantic too, fine. You know, you're trying to milk you know, God, it's trying to get all this stuff out of me in one, and I'm almost out of my rye. Very difficult for me. All right, Merlin. Merlin by Stefan Feld, and I'm sorry, I'd have to look it up on BGG, and the last time I tried to look something up, I disconnected myself from the Hangout because I'm old. So Merlin is Stefan Feld and another designer, Michael. My eyes just aren't that good. It's sitting right across from me, about 10 feet away, and I can't see it. Reisnick or something of that nature. My apologies to the co-designer there. So this is a game that's themed around the King Arthur legends. The board is gorgeous. The art and presentation is gorgeous. You have sort of a circular board, a la the round table. And this round table is divided up into these regions that kind of circle the circle of the round table. And the regions are basically color codes, you know. You have a gray region, a black region, a green region, a blue region, a red region, and whatever other colors I can't remember, a yellow region. And what you're trying to do is move your player piece to these regions by dice. You have dice that you're going to roll. Every round, you have 3 dice of your color, I believe, if I'm remembering correct, and 1 white die. The white die moves Merlin, who is another piece, but he is a shared piece. So Merlin is a shared piece between all the players. And so what you're trying to do is you're moving your single piece around to these different spots along the round table. They can do all sorts of things for you, as you would expect in a Feld game. Lots of different ways to score points here. So you can, score points for the number of banners that you've collected, which is something that you can do in these regions. In every region, you can either put out influence, you can collect a banner, or you can collect a shield, or you can collect a building material of the color of that region. And so those are the 4 basic things you're going to do. You have 4 helpers on your board who are going to do those things for you. If you've already deployed your helper, say to gather a banner in the red region, and now you want to go to the blue region and collect a banner, you just move your bannerman from the red region to the blue region. So there's not like any restrictions like that. If someone else's person was in that spot, you kick them out. They go back to that person's player board. And so you're collecting these resources, and you're using these resources to do one of a few different things. So the building materials are going to allow you to build little tokens that are called your estates out in the surrounding region. I forget what they call it. It's it's not the wilds, but it's the something. It's just
The nethers.
stuff. Yeah, it's out there. It's a randomly made hexagonal tile map of different types of landforms. So mountains or lakes or, fields or forests or what have you. And so you can build your estates out there with the building materials. Sometimes you get a bonus action from doing that, but what you're really trying to do is have the most estates in a particular landform region type, because at the end of when you get to the scoring rounds, and there's going to be 3 scoring rounds in the game, you're going to score points equal to the number of tiles of the matching type in that region. So if I'm in a water region and there's 5 water tiles that are all connected, I'm going to score 5 points. If somebody else has tied me, then we're going to split those 5 points, rounding down. So I'll get 2 and they'll get 2. Sometimes when you place one of your estates, you're going to get a little one-time bonus that's very helpful in game terms. So that's kind of cool. The banners you're going to gather, the banners give you special abilities. They give you a special power ability that you can use at any time you want by discarding it and putting it back in the supply. And so those are kind of cool and useful, and they're going to do things like help you take different actions from the one that you've selected, help you manipulate your die, because most of the time when you select one of your 3 dice that you've rolled, you have to move your piece that many spaces, and then you do what it says. So you don't really have control. You have to kind of plan your movement based on the dice that you have. There are, of course, things to mitigate it, like Feld always has. There are these little apple tokens that are like gifts from the gods, I guess, that you can get that will allow you to change a die to any face you want. Okay, cool. But you start the game with 1, and getting more of them is not easy. You have to get the Grail in order to get those. So these banners are very useful because they might let you flip a die to its opposite face, or the banner might let you take what's called a mirror action. So I'm not going to take the action of where I am. I'm going to take the action that's directly across from where I am at the opposite side of the round table. So those are really kind of cool. Then you have the shields. The shields are used to repel invaders. So at the start of every round, you're going to pick these invader tiles. I think you pick 3 of them. And you have to deal with them after every 2 rounds or you lose points. So you have to collect the matching shields to go against the invaders in order to repel them. And again, there's banners that can help you with that, etc. So at its heart, you're basically talking, 6 rounds, I think it is, of 4 actions per round. So you're getting to do 24 things during the course of the game. The game moves quickly. In addition to that, you have mission cards, so they're King Arthur cards that are basically recipe filling. That's all they are. So if I can collect the right amount of stuff, I don't have to turn it in. I just have to show that I have it. And that's another way to score points. So you're going to score points in all these different ways, trying to avoid the negative points, trying to best plan out your route for your knight as he travels around. And the Merlin character is very interesting because sometimes you're going to want to stall on Merlin because you want to take an action that's further around the table. So you want to hope that other people use their Merlin dice to move him in that direction before you use your die. But, Merlin can also move in both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise, which your knight cannot do. Your knight must always move clockwise. So that opens up some interesting possibilities as well. So that's kind of the mechanics of the game. Not as briefly as I wanted to say, but mechanically, it's very interesting. It's very smooth. It plays really, really well. It's not anything super exciting. This for me falls into what I call the dreaded 7 category. It's it's a good game. There's nothing wrong with it. It plays very well. It's not a weird aquasphere kind of nonsense. It's a really kind of a clean game. not really much theme coming through, you
Well,
know.
it's a Feld
but
game.
it's
Come
Feld.
on.
But Feld has pulled off some theme in the past, but no, not really this one. You know, I mean, just the fact that the regions are just color coded and it's just different colors and recipe filling, and you know, the dice system is the most interesting thing, along with Merlin, being able to move clockwise and counterclockwise and being a shared piece. I think that's very interesting. But other than that, you know, it's a good game. It's not one in retrospect that, you know, I mean, as a Feld fan, I'll play it. I'll probably keep it, but I can think of other games that I probably would have rather have brought home in my limited suitcase space now that I've played it. So there's Merlin. I'm damning it with faint praise.
What is your closest comparison to it, like in Feld's catalog and otherwise?
Man,
like if you played Strasbourg.
Yeah, I like Strasbourg. I like Strasbourg better than Merlin. Okay. I would say Merlin reminds me a lot of Rialto.
Okay, Rialto, so area control.
Rialto, not because it's area control. Rialto, I think, is also a clever game. It's a clean game. It's a neat game. It uses that I split, you choose kind of mechanism. I like it. It's a good, solid game. The theme is almost meaningless. The theme does not come through at all. It is still kind of a point salad kind of a game. It is enjoyable to play, but it's nothing like super. It's not like Trajan. It's not like Castles of Burgundy. It's not like it's not like Luna, you know? I mean, Luna is just so different.
Luna's an odd duck.
It is, you know? And I mean, he's put out some fun. It's not the Speicherstadt, you know? The Speicherstadt of you know, I'm going to take this.
That's his teethiest game.
Yeah. I mean, this to me kind of falls in that Rialto area, which is, it's a good game. There's nothing wrong with it. I still own Rialto. Rialto is a good game, but it's butt ugly board. And
it really is.
It really is. It's almost Martin Wallace last train to Wesleydale or whatever it was that looked like someone hacked up a lung. It really, you know what I'm talking about, Carmen. It's it really, you know, I mean, it's a good game, but it's not anything exceptional. So
did you ever play La Isla?
Oh, I hated that game. Sorry.
I hated it too. Okay, never mind. All right.
Well,
that one was, I hated it too.
It's a terrible game. Yeah. I think Carmen might still have some in stock at GameSurplus.com. Do you still have some in stock there, Carmen?
What game was it?
La Isla? That terrible. You're out now. Well, consider yourself lucky. All right. So.
But I do have a quick story, segue-wise, with Merlin.
Yeah. Okay.
So I remember... So Queen Games, their booth is more of a store. So it's kind of a U shape, and you go in and you went through, and Jeff was, even before, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, before you were coming, Merlin was on your list of games that you wanted to get. So that was pretty much one of the first stops when we got there.
Yep.
On Thursday. So we went around, and you picked it up, and I was waiting outside, and you came out, and you were so proud that they didn't talk you into that. You didn't let them talk you into buying that Queenie.
The Queenie, yeah, they wouldn't charge me €6 for some nonsense.
But look,
what do you got?
When I got the donation for PAX, look what they gave me for free, Jeff. Or you can't see
they gave you the Queenie for free,
but it's free. They'll never know at PAX. So I saved it for you.
Oh man! All right. Thank you.
So that might freshen it up for you.
Maybe the Queenie will save it. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe the Queenie will save it, but that was very nice of you, Carmen. The other one that I wanted to talk about before poor TC slips into a coma. How you doing there, TC?
I'm fine. Hi, I'm here.
Right. He's hanging. He's hanging. Your head just kept like moving further and further away from the side of the screen, and I'm looking at the butterflies on your wall and stuff, and I'm like, I think we're losing TC. Yeah.
No, I'm here.
All right.
Eh.
So TC, I played Transatlantic as well by Matt Gertz. Now I only played that as a 2-player game with my son once, so take it with a grain of salt. I really enjoyed that one. It is very different from what I thought it was going to be. So much of Gertz's games are sort of spatial, where there's some sort of route building or some sort of map or something. This one does not have that. It's stripped away. You have these very abstract representations of the sea regions, North Atlantic and the Pacific and the Indian and all these different oceans and areas. And basically, you're dealing with a sort of Martin Wallace-ish. That's hard to say after a glass of rye. Wallace-ish. Progression.
Walrus? What about the walrus?
Yes, Wallace-ish. Thank you. That's the third time I've said it. Progression of technology in the form of, like in automobiles, you have the sort of early car models going all the way up to more modern car models. And what's the other one he had there? Ships, you have the same thing. And airplanes, you have the same thing. You have these newer and improved models of airplanes. Well, in this one, you have all of these ships, primarily steamships, passenger ships, cargo ships, starting from they're all historical. As usual, Matt Gertz has this really cool book in there that details and gives you information about every stinking ship in that game, which is really kind of interesting. It's a fun, geeky thing to read. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to buy these ships, deploy these ships, put them out into a sea zone where they're going to either be moving cargo, moving passengers, or just kind of do what's called transporting in a game, which is the main way you're going to be making money and scoring victory points. Obviously, the better the ship, the more money you're going to make. You are going to be using a hand of cards a la Concordia to select your action every turn. You're going to put down a card. You're going to do what it says. Eventually, you're going to play a card that's going to allow you to take all your cards back. Just like in Concordia, you're going to get a benefit if you played more of your cards before you cycle through them, which is really cool. And then you're also, unlike Concordia, every time you do your reset card, you're going to get to pick a new card from a display of cards that is going to go into your deck. Actually, it doesn't go into your deck. You play it immediately, and you execute the effects immediately. So when you play that card to take your cards back in your hand, you're picking a new action card that's going to go into your deck, but you're playing it immediately, which is really cool. So it doesn't so much feel like you're passing a turn because you're still getting to do something amazing, which is really pretty nifty. So you're going to be buying ships, you're going to be putting them out, you're going to be stocking them with coal, you're going to be transporting either by region or transporting just using a couple of your ships. And the whole trick is every time you buy a ship from the display, what's going to happen is whatever is the last ship in the line, meaning the oldest ship in the line, is going to come off the display and go into what's called the docks. And the docks is a display on the side. And what you really need to think of it as is a stock market. So every ship in the game has a color. I think there's 6 colors. There's like blue flags, white flags, red flags, black flags, green flags. And that's a minor annoyance, is sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the blue and the green and the black. They're all very dark, at least to old eyes. And you sort of arrange these cards as they come off and into the docks into light-colored piles, into columns, so that you can see. And basically what that means is those are bonus victory points for you if you have that type of ship at sea when the game ends, or in your display when the game ends, in your own personal inventory. So as the game's progressing, certain types of ships are becoming more and more valuable. So blue ships might be worth +6 victory points per blue ship that you have deployed. So as the game progresses, I'm thinking, all right, I want to buy ships, but I really want to buy blue ships because blue ships are going to be worth a lot at the end of the game. But if I buy this blue ship, this is an older model. And the way the game works is in each sea region, there's only so much space. And what's going to happen is the oldest boats get pushed off. They get pushed out of the sea lanes, and they kind of rust, for lack of a better term. They're going to deliver for you one more time, and they leave the game, and they're out. They're gone. So you're not going to score for them. So you're trying to time it so that you can have ships at sea when the game is about to end that are going to be worth a lot of points according to the stock market of the docks on the right-hand side. Plus, during the game, you have the opportunity, a la Navigador, to fill up your own personal player mat with these little kind of chits that are going to affect actions you take during the game, like transporting or gathering coal. But each of those columns is tied to a color of flag. So if I can fill up my blue column, right, that means that every blue ship for me is worth 7 points. Plus, it's a bonus of 6 points on the market. So that means every blue ship that I have at sea or in my personal holdings at the end of the game is worth 13 points. So there's a lot of kind of thought that has to go into what ship is best for me now, what ship is best for me later. How does that sort of virtual stock market of the dock seem to be pushing? Where does it seem to be pushing us towards? What types of ships? That breeds competition for those types of ships. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So at heart, it's a midweight to light heavyweight economic game. And it was fun. Like, my son and I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a fun game. I would say it has more in common with Navigador in feel than it does with Concordia in a lot of ways. And like Forrest Gump would say, that's all I have to say about that.
I haven't played Transatlantic, and honestly, Jeff, I appreciate your perspective, but I feel like the thing that always makes me so interested to come back to Concordia, like, as much as I do enjoy Navigador and occasionally we'll play it online with the new system that's been released on Yukata.de, it, like, the way that you're acquiring the tiles is a little bit less exciting than the way that the cards are working. You know, there's just a little bit more like in Navigador. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it. I enjoy the game, but I feel like Concordia, it just kind of pushes the system a little bit further. It also pushes the rondel system into kind of like a non-linear sort of rondel, right, even though it's not at all. So it sounds to me like it's using this non-linear rondel system like we see in Concordia, you know, which they're calling like hand management sort of thing. And then it's using more of a scoring system, like more of an open scoring, and more of maybe a focused scoring that you'd see in Navigador. Yep. Absolutely. You have a pretty good idea of what end game scoring is going to be. It's not like Concordia where new players often complain that they have no idea how they're doing. So I would say, definitely that's an accurate description. Yeah, so I gotta try it. But I'm not gonna lie, like, both of those games, Navigador and Concordia, have boards, and in Concordia the board is just so important. You know, and we're seeing all these different expansions. They had the Egypt expansion, Egypt and Crete, I believe, the expansions that were out at Essen for Concordia. And I mean, you know, like, this is a game system that's almost like become the new Euro Age of Steam, like the more Euroized Age of Steam with all these maps, and each of them has a nice little spin and makes you just, you know, keeps its relevance. And so I'm kind of wondering, you know, like, is Transatlantic really going to crack into that nut? Because it seems like it shares quite a bit of similarities. Maybe, but without the board, I don't know. I don't know how people are going to feel about it. I don't see that this is as expandable as Concordia is. No, I think this is its own thing. I would not be surprised if this game predated Concordia. It really does almost sound like it was a project that stemmed more from one of the offshoots of Navigador, whereas Concordia would have been the other direction to go in. I'd be curious to talk to him to find out. So he was nice enough to autograph my copy there, so I have an autographed copy, which is awesome. So
You can't have that. I have that. That's mine, Joe. Mine.
I think that you can keep it. You can keep it for yourself, Jeff.
Now, you'll be jealous. Once you play it, you'll be jealous. You'll say, man, I wish I had a cool signed copy like Jeff did. All he had to do was go to Essen to get it.
Yep, that's right, dude. I never had considered going to Essen and how great it would be to end up with a copy of Transatlantic.
He shut down his camera because he's so embarrassed. He's so sad, really. He doesn't want us to see, Carmen. He doesn't want us to see.
Hello. This is me looking you in the eye.
Now he's back. Now he's back. Oh, brave.
Here I am.
Brave soul. All right, you said you had Essen questions for us. Give us some Essen questions. Go.
Well, you mentioned that there isn't that much open gaming going on at the halls, and I know that you guys had some responsibilities during the day, but what happened after the Essen fair shut down?
Carmen, you want to field that?
Sure.
Well, I know that let's you guys bought Kama Sutra, and that was night one, right? Let's go into like after you guys got
that was every night. That was every night, my friends. Anyway, come on.
Cleared the honeymoon phase here. Then you bought the expansion.
As long as he has that cologne, we're good to go.
So where did you guys hang around? I know that there was a hockey game. Yeah, go ahead, Carmen.
Yep. So Tuesday night, Jeff arrived Thursday afternoon. So Tuesday night, I went with a group to a German Elite League ice hockey game. So Uli Blenneman from Spielworks, it's his hometown, Iserlohn. So he invited Edward and Amanda from Heavy Cardboard, Clay from Capstone, his friend Christoph, and Mira, who was a fan, and myself. So we all loaded in a van, and off we went. And that ride was very memorable. We talked business. We talked, there were publishers, retailers, fans, gamers, and it was very entertaining. And also, at the time, Clay was discussing his difficulty with customs. So that was interesting to hear what he had to go through as far as getting stickers made that, in German to put on all the containers to make it through customs. So we had a blast at the hockey game. It was a very small arena, held less than 5,000 people. We were in a standing room section, and the quality was great. It was, think of when you see, European soccer matches, flags waving, chanting, singing throughout the entire game. Smaller scale, but just as enthusiastic. And I'm actually wearing a Roosters shirt right now from the that I picked up at the game.
Nice.
And
you got some swag. I like it.
I'm a long distance fan. Yeah, it was wild, man. It was really cool. So I did that one night. The next night, I went to dinner with a couple from Lancaster, we just walked around. And then Jeff arrived Thursday. We went to dinner on Thursday. Yep. Friday, I think you had dinner with Phil, and I went to a meetup at an Irish pub. Isn't that I think Friday was when you
I think Friday was it was when I went to dinner with Phil, and it was an amazing steakhouse. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was probably one of the best meals I've ever had in my life, but it was also one of the most expensive meals I've ever had in my life. You're in trouble, right, when you go to a restaurant and there's no prices on the menus. That's when you realize
they're gonna bring out this giant steak and just start shaving meat off of it, hoping to give you the meat sweats, right?
This was just a different. As soon as we walked in, I mean, I'm wearing shorts, right? I'm wearing shorts with a just a
fanny pack, socks, and sandals. All right, dude,
no, just a collared shirt, nice shirt, but untucked. And I walk in, and it's like everybody's dressed to the nines, and everybody just turns and looks, right, at the crew as we walk in. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, clearly we don't belong here, and everybody had been looking at me crazy all week because I was in shorts, because it's in the the high 50s, low 60s, and everybody in Germany is like in their winter coats with scarves and stuff and sweaters. And I'm just like, nah, I'm a large mammal, and it's not that cold. And boy, when you get into those halls, you want to be wearing shorts because it's hot in there. So I was a happy camper, but still walking into a restaurant like that, no. So we sat down, very elegant restaurant, sat down at a table and had this amazing, absolutely amazing meal. It's the first time. It's funny because it was the first time I had bison. It was in Germany, so go figure. And it was absolutely incredible. Everything about the meal was amazing. So great company. Talked with Philip Klarman. Heard a little bit about some games that they're working on together, like Bio's Origins, which is kind of the sequel to Phil Eklund's Origins game. So hearing a little bit about that. Hearing about a game that Philip and he are working on about possibly about the whole Emancipation Proclamation and possibly just kind of the whole worldwide issue of slavery. Really interesting topic those two are thinking of tackling. So really interesting conversation as always, and fantastic meal. So that was really cool. Yeah, so that's what I did, I think, on Friday night. And then Saturday we went out to dinner again, right, Carmen?
Yes.
We went out to dinner again. Where did we go? We went to that place that had the picture from Philadelphia.
From where I lived.
So yeah. So we're sitting in this restaurant in Germany, and I happen to look across, and I see this photograph, and it's the very famous little thing from Philly that just says love. It's LO on the top and VE at the bottom, and I was just like, that's from Philly. And Carmen looks over, and he's just like, son of a gun, man. Not only is that from Philly, but the building behind that love sign, that sort of sculpture, is the building that I lived in, and you can see the window of the apartment that, and it was just like a really strange moment. It's like we're sitting here in Essen, Germany, and there's Carmen's apartment.
Did you guys pull one of those like, hey, we're in Germany, what do you want to have? Oh, let's go grab a hamburger and some American food.
Carmen did that, yes.
Oh my goodness. No.
What did I have?
I was a Spanish teacher and ambassador. Carmen, no, absolutely not. You need me there telling you what you can and can't do.
I had schnitzel.
Wait a minute. What did I have? I don't even remember what I had. What did I have?
You had the American burger. You had the big burger. I had the schnitzel. I had the schnitzel.
Okay. I believe you.
And then the other dinner you and I went to, we had some Italian food. Yeah, that was the Italian-German food. The rest of the time at the fair, when you're at Essen, there's lots and lots of food choices, but a lot of people, of course, go for like the currywurst or the bratwurst and all of that kind of stuff. Great stuff. Currywurst with fries and bratwurst. And interesting side note, if someone offers you a sort of white-looking thing to go with your fries, that's not a soft cheese. That's mayonnaise. So apparently they eat fries with mayonnaise, and I had forgotten about that. So I got this delicious order of fries just heaped with mayonnaise, and all that I can think of is I'm gonna die if I eat this.
So gross.
But
it's like did you take a gigantic like a ice cream scooper full of butter too and put that on the side of your plate?
No. But actually, it's not bad. I tried it. I tried the fries with the mayonnaise, and it's not bad. I still prefer ketchup. Or the curry, the currywurst comes in this lovely kind of
fries.
gravy. Yeah. But no, not plain fries. No, I think I'd rather have the mayonnaise. But yeah, so
really?
That's mayonnaise. Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting.
Hot mayonnaise.
No, I didn't say it was hot.
Well, the fries were hot, right? I mean, were the fries cold or something? No, it's a nice temperature contrast. I don't know what you're talking about. Open your mind there, dude. Okay, I know mayonnaise and I know.
Listen, no. Pretend I'm like Kuatu in Total Recall, telling you open your mind.
Open your mind to fried mayonnaise.
I hope you don't end up like him.
I
do look like Kawatu.
Corn on the cob in Mexico, and they dollop mayonnaise all over it and then cover it in chili powder. Enjoy that, Jeff. That's where it's at, apparently.
That's good stuff.
Actually, I would rather have that than I would have any other hot mayonnaise, but it's still just...
I know, hot mayonnaise and ketchup, some fry sauce could be really good.
Hot mayonnaise.
It is
well,
fry sauce.
I won't tell you what Carmen thinks of hot mayonnaise, so...
Well, you two are alone in a room.
Carmen, look at him. I will tell you that we also got to watch American football in Germany, which was awesome. So we're watching, and it's German commentators who were really fired up about it, and it was really cool. I got to be honest with you. They were like really intense about it, and it was cool. And I could understand almost nothing of it, but you would hear something like face mask, or you'd hear like, you would hear, and then the referee would come on and you'd hear the referee explain the call in English, and then they would overdub it in German. But that was kind of a surreal experience, like watching, what was it, Carmen? It was like Atlanta and somebody.
No, it was a great game. It was Houston and
Houston
and Seattle, I think. And
Houston and Seattle. Atlanta, it's close. Yeah, Houston and Seattle. Atlanta, very close. Houston and Seattle.
I was basically awake every night, all night, with the TV on until it bothered Jeff. And then eventually I would turn the TV off.
Right.
And then I would have my laptop or iPad and listen to the Flyers or something, some sport that was going on overnight. And I didn't.
Yeah, Carmen. Carmen was what he's an interesting guy because no matter what time you wake up, he's already awake. So it leads you to wonder whether he ever sleeps because
I warned you
every time I woke up.
That's the real secret behind that Sex Panther cologne, man. You put that stuff in, it's pure human adrenaline. It's like the crap he took at the end of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas before he wore the crocodile tail.
Exactly. Yeah. It was one of the things, Carmen was always ready to go. He was always awake, and it was interesting. So
the 3 or 4 double espressos every morning at breakfast. That
helps you out.
That was a good start.
That helps you out. Yep, absolutely. So no, that was cool. So I mean, there were so many cool parts of the trip. Either restaurants, people that we met, conversations that we had, places that we got to go. I had a really fantastic conversation with a policeman who was trying to give me directions to get me home when Carmen abandoned me. I guess I didn't please him, and he left me.
Well, you got to go back to Kama Sutra,
he
man. Got to go back to your
me.
studies.
No, I want to be the balloon.
Everybody wants to be.
Sounds like this balloon may have just floated away.
So I had to ask a nice German police officer how it was that I was supposed to get home, and he understood almost no English, and I understand very limited German. So it was, but he was so patient. He was so nice,
Well, he's used to it, like everybody just gets on their phone and just stands in the middle of the road. You kind of got to, be ready for it.
I didn't say people stood in the middle of the road there. Right? Don't get me in trouble with the kind people of Germany. I'm just saying that when it comes to walking through convention halls, they're not afraid to stop. Okay. So, what other questions do you have for us? Because it's getting we're at 10 o'clock here.
There, man. I
guess 2 hours. 2 hours. Come on.
I was just saying like that. That was pretty much. That was one question. That was one question. The answer was about the length of a normal podcast topic. So the answer was this. What did we do afterwards? Here's everything that we did. Thank you for asking.
Everything we did. That's right. That's everything.
To me, when people ask about, again, I haven't attended a lot of other conferences, or conventions, but it feels like one big inclusive party. Like no matter where I am, Whether it's at dinner, you run it, no matter who you run into, you don't know them, you may know them by name, but never met. Everyone is, and it sounds cliche, I know, but it's like nothing I've ever experienced. The level of comfort that I have a smile plastered on my face from the moment I get there to the moment I leave. It is.
You're welcome, Carmen.
Like, we went to the hockey game. I hugged Amanda, and we were literally jumping for joy just being there.
Right.
And that's, one day I was visiting Paul at the Quinted booth, and he had visited Lancaster a while over the summer, and he pulled out a pen for me to sign what I was picking up, and it was a game surplus pen that I'd given him. So I was like, oh yeah, I made a big deal, and then I heard people laughing, and I turned around. It was Suzanne and Mandy from the Dice Tower, and then we chatted, and then I ended up seeing them before I left. And it's all those little, impromptu meetings that occur every day, all day. I mean, when I met with White Goblin or any number of publishers, it just was phenomenal, just the comfort level. And I'm like a lot of gamers, I'm not the most comfortable person in a foreign environment, so but I've never felt more welcome. And that's really what, when people ask about Spiel, that it's truly something you need to experience to understand how different it is and how welcoming and special.
Yeah,
at least in my opinion.
No, I think you're right, Carmen, because you get that feeling from, the people at Spiel, whether it's the publishers, whether it's, the volunteers, just tons of volunteers that are there. We all speak the same language, the language of, just games and having fun and hanging out together. And we're kind of among our own tribe, Every convention has that feeling to an extent. But I think because of this, the sheer size of Spiel and, the game fair there, you really do get that kind of feeling that, you're among your own there. And everybody understands you and you understand everybody else, even though you might be from all these different countries. And that was another thing that was really cool about the experience, is just hearing the different languages, hearing the accents. Yep. I mean, Carmen and I were there, and we're packing up boxes, or Carmen's packing and I'm watching. And, there's these other guys that were literally trying to encase their boxes in tape. It was really fascinating to watch. But they were like so happy, they were packing up their boxes, and you could hear them talking, and you could tell they were Spanish, they were from Spain. And they're, getting everything ready, and you could hear them kind of talking. And every once in a while I'd hear the name of a game. And I'm like, they're just sitting there and they're just talking about all the cool stuff that's in this box that they're going to be shipping home or taking home. And that's just such a cool thing to see, really, really kind of nifty. Meeting people from, the UK, saying hello to Tony Boydell, all these different people from the Netherlands, Czech Republic. I mean, just all over the place. Just really, really neat. Because when you're at Gen Con, you're I'd say 85-90% of the people, at least in my experience from the 2 or 3 times I was there, American. When you're at WBC, you actually get a little bit more. You have a large Canadian contingent, and then you have some people from Europe and from the Far East, from like Japan, who come over. But this convention is unlike anything because, Europe is such a hub. There's so many people from so many different places, and yet everybody's there for the same reason. So I agree with you, Carmen. It really is a special kind of feeling.
So did you guys get to play many games outside of the con, or was it mainly like kind of events and networking?
We played one game that I'm aware of. We played one game of Flea from Friedman Fries in the Fast Forward series there, put out by 2F Spiele and Stronghold.
Underwear about 1 a.m.
Yes, on top of a suitcase. Yeah, as a table between the 2 twin beds that were about, 4.5 feet apart from each other. Was that pretty much it, Carmen? I mean, it was a tight little room there. But the good thing, the ceilings were like 20 feet high. So, you know, it was just lots
And the window's open.
And the window is open. Yeah, I opened the windows because I'm always hot. And
You're always hot.
Oh, Carmen said, if you didn't hear that, he said, me too. Real quiet. Real quiet in the background. He's like, me too. I'm
Subliminal
like,
messaging.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. That's right. So, yeah. So, I mean, it was definitely a nice place. It was clean. While we're talking about that place, man, oh my God, I have to tell you about the breakfast there. So Carmen found this place that has the best breakfast anywhere in the world. Okay. Now, that sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. So what you do is part of the cost of this hotel, you go downstairs in the morning and you have breakfast, and they have like 2 or 3 different types of eggs. They have the hard-boiled eggs. They have the soft-boiled eggs. They have a whole bin of sausage cooked in bacon, and then they have like every type of bread that you can imagine. Yes, even a brioche. They have fruit. They have fresh cheese. They had the last day I was there, the only thing that he had put out, because it was like 5:15 in the morning, he had like prosciutto wrapped around pickled asparagus, like it's just, and like coffee and juice and like everything.
Where was the brioche with
possibly imagine? It was insane.
What about the brioche with the bone?
With the bone, there was no bone. It was just a lovely brioche. But no, like seriously, croissants and then they had like desserts, you know, like torts and stuff. It's like it was insane.
It was great.
Wow, it was insane the amount of stuff they had there. And so we would go there in the morning. We'd eat a big breakfast because it was all you could eat. And gosh darn it, we're Americans, so we can eat. And we'd have this big breakfast, right? And then before you leave, they have a bag lunch for you. And so you take the bag lunch, you go to Spiel, you hang out. When you get hungry, you pull out your bag lunch. Nothing super to write home about, just a typical bag lunch. But my gosh, now I don't even have to buy my lunch because I had this huge breakfast. I'm not even hungry until 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I have my little bag lunch, ties me over, and then I have dinner. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. There you go. What was the name of that place, Carmen? No, don't tell them, because I need to keep that place for myself. I'm sorry. It's a selfish moment right there. It's a special place. That's all we're going to say, Carmen.
That's right.
It's a special place.
I did forget to say, after the hockey game, when we were on the way home, Christoph was dropping people off. And so they were like, okay, where are you staying? I'll drop you off here. And they asked me where I was staying. And I said, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, so I brought it up on my phone. And I showed it to Uli from Spielworks, and he's like, "You're staying there?" And I was like, "Yeah, me too." What room are you? 24. What room are you? 25. We were literally next door.
Next door to each other. That's right.
Yeah, we didn't even realize it. And you're talking about a hotel that's 4 flights and maybe half
probably
dozen
30
or so
rooms. Yeah, maybe
30 rooms.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. You know, we were on the top floor, I think, and we were room 24, 25, so it couldn't have been more than 30 rooms.
Yep. Amazing. And I think a lot of publishers, I think, were staying there this year because it's mainly German speaking, and it's kind of away from the hustle and bustle of the hotels right near the halls. So it's kind of, it was a nice little escape. But then, of course, people like me show up there and ruin it for them.
Ruin it. Yep. Ruin it. Filthy Americans. Anyway.
filthy Americans.
Filthy Americans. But yeah, I mean, the people there were super nice. The staff was great. I mean, again, like Carmen said, you know, I think the whole city turns out and kind of seems to have some pride in the event and seems to really enjoy the event. So it was a great time, great atmosphere in that way.
Excellent.
It was super easy to navigate as well.
Mm-hmm.
So super easy. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it was super easy to navigate the underground. Jeff and I both were saying it often took longer to exit the hall than it did once you were out of the hall to get from the exit, back to the room, which was a couple stops on the underground, but that trip took all of between 5 and 10 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
And,
really quick. Yep.
So it was just, it's heaven.
Yep. Very cool. All right. What else you got for us, Joe?
Well,
TC?
You were going to talk
I know.
about...
What you got, Joe?
what you were going to talk about... you were going to hype something, and I'm really hoping that Agra is what you're going for, and not the performance enhancing drug.
No, I don't need that. I don't need that. Carmen's cologne is that, really, and
Damn right.
For the entire hotel, actually.
That's why he keeps it under lock and key. That's right. That's right. You got to keep it in the safe. Beep, 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 beep.
Hey, Prince Charles wears it, man, and he got Princess Di, so I figured that's
right. That's right. That's right. We could do. We did a little role playing. That's all right. Anyway, so here we go.
Yeah.
I am not going to hype Agra. I have changed my mind. Look at that. I just shocked you, Joe. I'm not going to hype Agra other than to say that I really would like to try it, really would like to play it. The game looks gorgeous.
Well, it's
the
a Quinted
components
game,
are
right? So,
unreal. Yeah, it's
Quinted.
Components
Quinted.
are Quinted. Yep. Components are unreal. Could not get into a demo because it was just stacked with people at all times, and kicking myself a little bit for not picking it up, but I know that Carmen's going to have it, so I'll wait on it. But looked really interesting, really gorgeous. Now, the one I'm going to hype is actually one that I just got in the mail today from the kind folks over there at Tasty Minstrel Games. They sent a copy of the newest Eminent Domain expansion, which is called Oblivion. And it really, really has me excited. I read through the rules for it. Here's why I'm so excited about it. So the original Eminent Domain I liked. I thought it was a really interesting engine that didn't have a whole lot of depth to it. It was a cool game, but it was missing something.
There were certain paths you just go down, and that's once you know them, they're just there, right?
And then the first expansion came out, and it kind of changed things up, and it made the game much more fleshed out, much more interesting. Then the second expansion came out, Exotica, which made it even better because now you have this mining technology, and you're looking for asteroids, and now there's a differentiation between the different types of ships, and the goods are, in the previous expansion, the goods are now actually differentiated. They're not just sort of different colors for no reason. And so the game has continued to kind of get fleshed out, right? There's some abilities to kind of, go after each other a little bit. And that was kind of cool. So the game kept getting better and better and better. And what Oblivion is adding is this really interesting political kind of phase, right? The political role, the politics role is now fully fleshed out. So there are sort of agendas that you can vote for as a table. And people can participate in that vote, and those agendas, if voted upon, will become sort of new rules for the game or effects during the game that everyone's going to have to deal with. Yeah, very much like Lancaster or even Twilight Imperium, which is kind of what it reminded me of.
You hear that?
Yeah,
So, I like my Eminent Domain. I'm listening very intently here.
So, I mean, that's really, really cool. And then it also adds these influence chips, right? So when you take that politics role, one of the actions you can do is to draw a chip from a bag, and it has kind of a politics symbol on it. But on the flip side, it has a symbol of one of the other roles. And so you can use your political influence to boost your roles that you select. So it's almost like having another card of that type or another icon of that type in your tableau. And so that's really cool. So it seems like it's going to open up and make politics a really integral part of the game. And it adds new technologies, and it adds some new worlds and prestige worlds. And so it's taking the next step with Eminent Domain and making it an even better looking experience. And so anytime that you can involve the rest of the people at the table in conversation and shared kind of consequence and things like that, love it. So I am totally pumped for this newest expansion from Eminent Domain. I didn't even know it was coming. Heard about it, and I was just like, oh, I would love to check that out. And they were nice enough to send a copy. So maybe when I'm on one of these shows later on, I'll be doing a nice full review. But for right now, that's my hype for Eminent Domain Oblivion.
So instead of hyping Agra or Viagra, you chose to hype ED.
Yes. Yes, I chose to hype Eminent Domain. See, DC didn't even flinch. See, he didn't even flinch. I just saw his face in the video feed, and it didn't even phase him.
Actually, I'm looking up the details of the expansion you were talking about. This looks really, really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Eminent Domain was a very interesting game. That it took a while for my wife to turn around on it because she's like, "We're just mining. This is dumb. The ships are all the same, and the colors of the minerals don't matter." Then the expansion came out, and she's like, starting to turn the corner. I'm hoping this one will just bam, this will do it. So I'm very excited.
Yep. Yeah, very cool, very cool. All right, who's hyping something next?
Well, apparently we let anybody on this show, according to you guys' buddy Joe there, Carmen. You see him in the chat, Joe.
Wait, what's that? Say again?
He says you guys are letting anybody on the show now. It seems to be we need a vetting process, some extreme vetting, as
Extreme
Jeff
vetting.
happening. Yes, extreme
That's
vetting
right.
for our host
Some
on this.
extreme vetting. That's right. It's not just vetting; it's extreme vetting. Yeah.
Well, Carmen,
Actually,
why don't
Joe,
you tell us about whatever you were going to say? You'd mentioned Queen Domino, and then you weren't so sure about it. What would you like to talk about?
I'm here to hype Spiel, not a game. So I really can't stop. As I'm sitting here, I just keep thinking of more examples of just the gaming fraternization that goes on. And in addition to muling stuff back, I muled stuff to Germany for people. And Jeff was with me when I guess it was Harry Potter, which is USAopoly. Difficult to get. So in Europe. So maybe 6 or 7 people. And I walked into near the Artipia booth, which we had set up, and I held it up. And it was like, moths to a flame. And every one of the people, so gracious. And they were handing me, either beers from their hometown or snacks, or which Jeff ate all of.
I did, including those delicious Hirabu gummy bears, which apparently are made with child labor. I don't know. Anyway, now I have to feel bad about enjoying the gummy bears.
You're crying while eating the bears, but they're so good.
I was. They're so delicious, like Homer Simpson.
Maybe that's why that one beer you didn't enjoy so much. It was Karma.
Oh, that was a terrible beer. What was that beer? What did I tell you that tasted like? It was hideous.
You did come up with a very descriptive.
I think it tasted like an ash. But didn't it tell you like it tastes like an ashtray or something? Yeah, like it was. You were drinking a cigar. Yeah, and I was just like, this is one of the worst beers I've ever had in my life.
So I filled this glass needle of this thing.
Unbelievable.
But so Unbelievable. I just everything that we did is just exhilarating when you're there. Queen Domino is great. I think it adds some stuff, some unique scoring and additions to King Domino, but it's fantastic. But really, why I'm here is to hype the experience of Essen.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah. So now let's move on.
How are you going to follow up with that, Joe? Huh? How are you going to follow up with that? Anything you say is going to sound shallow now. It's going to sound shallow because Carmen was just hyping the experience of Essen. You can't top that. You can't do it.
No.
So you go ahead and try. Go ahead and try. I want to watch you. Go.
Yep. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful transition, Jeff. You really
I am
know
the
how to host
transition
them, man.
That's right. That's right. I keep trying to there might be a little bit more in this glass, and there's
He's
not. It's very sad.
putting the host in hostile, Geoff.
That's
Gambill.
right.
So, anyhow,
All right, tell us about whatever little experience you're going to talk to us about. Go ahead.
Wow, it's not even a real experience, Geoff. It's just
it doesn't even count.
An imagined experience I've never had before. I've never been to Essen. Nope. And you know what? I've never even played the game I'm going to talk about. So really, why are you listening? Rajas of the Ganges. It looks like a cool little dice placement game.
Yes, it does.
And Tony previously from Heavy Cardboard was speaking about it, which made me immediately interested because it looked like a Euro game that would entertain me. But he clearly thought there was something heavier there, and so I'm not so sure if that means that it's going to be out of my firmly Euro wheelhouse for the most part. But anyway, I'm interested to see. It's definitely got a really pretty box cover that reminds me of the Indiana Jones, like the Temple of Doom scenes where you've got like
that was almost the worst one until the latest one. That was the worst Indiana Jones.
Okay, game. All right, because we're actually considering the Shia LaBeouf piece of garbage as one. Okay, then yes, you're right.
Yeah, that was definitely.
I choose to acknowledge it only at times. For me, the true Crystal Skulls are the ones from Soulkin. That's the only Crystal Skull I know.
That's right. Those are the only Crystal Skulls that matter. Anyway, go ahead. So tell us. Rajas of the Ganges. Tell us.
That's all. That's it, man.
That's it?
That just looks like a cool little dice placement game. That's it.
I don't feel as excited as I should after a hype section. I don't know.
That's what hype is, though, man.
Did he let you down, Carmen? Did he let you down? There's a little bit of a letdown, wasn't it?
Well, actually, I'm staring at a copy of that right now that I borrowed from
Where?
The couple that joined us from Lancaster, Kevin and
Cool.
Lisa. They picked it up, and Kevin did rave about it. And I'm bringing it to PAX, so you'll get to play it before Joe, Jeff. So
yeah, that's what it's all about. There, you got to come to PAX too.
Man, all night.
You got to come to PAX.
Yep.
That's right. You got to come to PAX too, Iowa. All right.
We got to bring PAX to Iowa somehow. Bring Philadelphia here, in the middle of the plain, the corn, and yeah,
right. God's country. All right, TC, what are you hyping? I got to go to bed.
Okay, well, I was going to have some future games of Legend of the Five Rings, but I've already talked about that. Don't want to get yelled at again. Although I do have a new strategy. I have sleeved my cards in My Little Pony sleeves to distract my opponent next time I play.
That would not fly for me. You would have to unsleeve that before I would play it. Anyway,
well,
go ahead.
That'd be like a win by default, right? I'm 0 for 8 on this game so far, so I got to take a win any way I can get.
Holy crap, man. So Battle for Rokugan, is this the first expansion pack, or is this the actual game that's coming out?
So what I want to hype is the actual board game coming out. And what's got me interested in it is designed by Tom Jolly, who designed Wiz War, which was a crazy deck building card game with fighting wizards in a maze. It was one of the games I played when we talked about our 90s games that I played.
Right.
When I was growing up. So I'm excited. It's supposed to be like a 6-player area control game set in the Rokugan setting, and I've been looking at how it plays. It looks pretty interesting. The designers got me interested. So, and it's only $40. So hey, win-win. So I'm kind of hyped about that. Maybe Carissa will actually play a Rokugan game because she didn't really like the card game that much. So this is like phase 2 here to try to get her back in.
Well, I know your son has very strong feelings about card games, so I'm wondering if he got that. I'm wondering if he got that from his mom. I don't know.
I probably did. Yeah. Remember we talked about Epic Face, the Epic card game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from.
Yeah. That was a pretty terrible card game. So I agree with you there. That was not a good game. I mean, after Star Realms, Star Realms, it was like, oh man, what a phenomenal little game. And then Epic came out, and it was like, wow, what happened?
But then they kind of redeemed themselves. They're working. Have you played Hero Realms with the? There's a quest expansion and a boss expansion that makes it pretty neat. I mean, it is comparatively better than Epic, so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah. there's not much that isn't comparatively better than Epic. Sorry to say to the creators. I usually try to be less harsh than that, but it's a pretty bad game. Yeah. All right, so that sounds good. That sounds good.
Did you play Flea again?
Flea? No, I haven't played Flea, but I did play Fear. Which Fear, I liked it. It seems to be a reworking of Poison. It's that same kind of, you're trying not to reach
I hated Poison so bad. Is Poison that like Friday the 13th game from Reiner Knizia where you're trying not to get 13? Yeah. Oh, that was like the joke from our podcast for so long. Like there was one night when we were like all just sitting around and we were like, what do we want to play? And I kind of got sick of the whole like, what are we going to play game? So I went and I grabbed Poison off the shelf and I started like screaming the rule book because it was only like a page, like front and back. So I just started sort of screaming it because there's like probably 10 people in the room. And I figured there will be enough people that hear these rules and sit down and they will just like involuntarily participate in this experience. And it was just garbage. Oh, it just like everybody just sat there sitting on the same cards the whole time. And it felt like one of those games where you just kind of had cards that you never wanted to play until your hand clogged up and somebody had to play the crappy card, fall on the sword, and then it kept going.
Wow. There you go.
And that's my hype, Poison.
You want to come up with a different comparison, Jeff?
No, because that's pretty much what it is. But it has different rules. So
sure.
There's some changes that have been made to the game system. Flea, right? But yeah, there's some changes that have been made, and I enjoyed it. For what it is. I'm looking to try Fortress. I think as a co-op, I want to see how that works. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying all of them. But Fear, Fear is definitely Flee. Flee is the one that Carmen and I played. Fear is the one that you're talking about, which is the retheme of sort of reworking of Poison, right? Or Friday the 13th. So yeah. It's an interesting game, but I think Friedman has taken that idea and sort of improved upon it and made it a little bit better, a little bit more interactive. So yeah, we'll have to kind of see what people think of them when they come out. As a system, I think it's fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with that design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really interested by these sorts of explorations. I kind of want one of them to hit big. Like our chat has been mentioning that Freedom and Freeze was really like he had this classic with Power Grid, and since then it's been largely interesting, experimental from my perspective, but not much of it sticks. Let's go ahead and leave this episode here with a nice food reference. The pasta's done when it sticks to the wall, and I just don't think any of this pasta is quite sticking to the wall.
That was good. I got to admit, that was good. That was good.
Man. Come on, I don't get it.
That was
self-referentially bad. No.
Pasta spaghetti.
Yes, Liam.
That's
You're
right.
my hero, Liam.
I heard
That's the stuff right there.
Luigi, Super Mario, Smash Bros. From the show.
Mario and
That's
Luigi.
how you know the pasta's done.
That's
Next time
right.
you're eating with Dad and Mom, you take that pasta and you gotta take it right out of the scalding hot water and just chuck that against the wall.
Oh, nice. Tell the little child to put his hand in scalding hot water. Good job, Uncle.
It hurts.
Good. Exactly.
My hands from that. It's so red.
Yeah, don't listen to
my
Uncle
goodness.
Joe. Uncle Joe is a bad influence.
Do not. Please do not. Yeah,
oh
that
my
is.
gosh.
That was me
Podcast
just
making
forcing
right
your
here.
dad to do some parenting. That was all, Liam. Don't do that. I'm, for the least, not responsible for any scalding of children. No.
All right. So before we go, I just want to once again say thanks to Carmen for the invitation. I want to encourage people to go and check out Game Surplus because, you know, Carmen is a very thoughtful person in general. And I don't mean just thoughtful about being nice. I mean thoughtful about what he was trying to do with Game Surplus, thoughtful about the things that people are looking for in a game store, not just an online game store, but a game store in general, you know, thoughtful about what makes good customer service, thoughtful about, you know, what can I do better? You know, I can tell you from my experience with Carmen, he's a very, very thoughtful person. You know, he thinks a lot about everything that he does, all the things that he's trying to do with Game Surplus. And I think people are starting to see the fruits of that. I would encourage people to go and check out gamesurplus.com for the selection of stuff that he's had shipped back for from Spiel, and to you know, reach out to Carmen, ask him if you're looking for a game. You know, he and Elaine and Velma, who's still kind of there, helping out and working hard at Game Surplus behind the scenes there, behind the scenes with Carmen, doing great things still. Very much kind of a family feel there. People that I trust, people that I like. And you know, Carmen, just really appreciate what you've done for me and what you're doing for the board gaming community by not only just stocking great games and for having great customer service, but also for you know, some of the things. I mean, it would have been the easiest thing in the world, and he's going to hate me for saying this, would have been the easiest thing in the world for you in your hype section that Joe asked you to do, to shill a game. Like, oh, what game does Game Surplus have? I'm going to really hype that so I can get people to buy it. But instead, you're thinking more about yourself and all of us as gamers and thinking, you know what I really want to talk about here is I want to hype, you know, the Essen experience. And if people have the opportunity to go, if people are on the fence about going, you know, I want to maybe give them that gentle push to try to get out there and experience that for themselves. And that just kind of speaks to me about the kind of person that you are, you know, that it's not just about Game Surplus as a store, as a business entity, but about you as a gamer. So I really appreciate that. I'm sure that all made you terribly uncomfortable based on what I know about you. So you can just kind of nod, and you know, we'll let it go at that. But
I'll pick it right up from there, Jeff. I think.
Oh, there you go.
Really,
okay, here we go. Part 2. Ding ding.
Well, what I was going to say is it's really great because Carmen has said this to me, and it really comes across, Carmen, in this episode. And I think this has been a really great kind of introduction and debut for you into podcasting. I hope it's the first of many times that you'll come and join us. But you have your business head about you because that's what your expertise is in. Mm-hmm. But when what you hear, the Carmen that we've heard from tonight is very much Carmen as a gamer, and that is a very different person, and that's the type of person we were wanting to hear from. And like Jeff said, you know, I really echo that. You know, you're a real gamer. Like this is what you do and what you love, and you do it because you love it. But you know, we heard from Carmen the gamer tonight, and it's been great having you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. TC, you know what? Liam made his debut tonight too, and that I will tell you, man,
he did a great job
in broadcasting. He is the next Gilbert Gottfried. I feel like you just got to mention cards, and he's like, oh, it's gonna be a card game. You know what? That kid is gonna make it big. He's gonna be like that one kid that was on Ellen DeGeneres. You know, the kid who's like, well, apparently I went on the slide. He's gonna have all these crazy perspectives, man. You just say one
who's
word.
Who's watching Ellen DeGeneres? I thought you weren't. When are you watching?
You know
Ellen
what,
DeGeneres?
dude? I watch a lot of shows.
Oh my God!
When I'm on my computer, my wife loves Ellen. Come on, dude. Jeff.
All right, I got nothing against Ellen. It's just,
you know what,
it surprised me.
You know what?
From
I'm
a
20-something,
30-something Spanish teacher. It's like that kid on Ellen DeGeneres. I'm like, what is he talking about? When does he have time to sit and watch Ellen?
You know what? I'm going to leave the mystery.
Dance like nobody's watching, Joe. Dance like nobody's watching.
And be kind to one another, too. Be kind to one another. So TC.
Yes.
TC, you you passed up the opportunity today, and I really appreciate this, to review the My Little Pony movie.
Thank you.
Yeah, well.
Thank you for passing.
I can bring Liam back.
We all go and
talk
see
about
things.
I think that would have made Carmen reach for the second bottle. That would have made Carmen reach for the second bottle, I think. So thank you for that, my friend.
Well, one of the great pleasures that I have is playing games with my kids. So it's always fun to have them on and talk about the experience they have, whether it was a good experience or I can't believe my dad made me play that piece of junk. So it's always fun.
Dude, it sounds to me like you're
Absolutely
really kindling a love for it. And I think that it sounds like it's happening in all you gentlemen. And I think that's a very noble cause, something that I really like to see. And it's really great to hear from Liam. And previously we've heard from Kate. TC, you're raising quite the game and family there. And glad to have you
That's
on.
right.
Well, gents, this has been fun. And I hope it happens again sometime. But this has been one for the record books, I think, in terms of how many times we've laughed out loud and how many times we've maybe thrown shade in the other's direction, right? You know, maybe a little bit too much rye whiskey for even a PA
maybe
Appalachian boy, huh?
Maybe there's a little bit of freedom involved and not really officially being a podcaster anymore. So and Carmen has helped me open like a flower.
Well, we're good. I'm avoiding the deflowering jokes. Anyway, the thing is, this has been great, gentlemen, and it's about time for us to go. Hope everybody has a great week of gaming and catches us next week here on The Good, The Bored, and The Ugly, and The Long View. Take care, gents and ladies, and all of you other folks.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, guys.